2414 is a podcast about finding hope and common ground through casual conversation. Like the friends on the road in the New Testament, in Luke chapter 24, verse 14, we want to walk away with more understanding that leads to more conversation as the journey continues. Thanks for walking with us.
All right. Yeah. Hey, welcome to 2414. My name's Dan. That's Shane Welter. Hi, Shane.
Hey, Dan.
Oh, my goodness. We're at the same table together.
After 2 weeks, 2 episodes.
Yeah, it's been something of a hiatus. This is 2414, the podcast. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Our goal is to just have conversation, process real life, invite others into the conversation, and see what happens. We like to start each episode with lows and highs and a little get-to-know-you question of the day. I've not gotten bored asking these questions.
No. It's always interesting to hear what people say.
Which is real life of whether it's a relatively normal week or a very traumatic or an incredible mountaintop week. I think there's always peaks and pits, lows and highs.
Hills and valleys.
So, Shane, what's a low from the day or the week or the hour, a high? And then the question of the day is, what's a tabletop game, like a board game, card game, dice game? What's a tabletop game that you don't play or won't play? If somebody says, hey, we should play this, and you're either, going to vote against it or like sit out and pout or like, I'm just going to leave because I don't play that game. So lows and highs, and what's a tabletop game that Shane Welter does not play?
Okay, well, highs, lows, highs. So lows, Lauren's car is still in the shop. So it's been almost 2 months that we haven't had her car. So they're working on it.
But she didn't crash. There wasn't.
No, it's just like a pure internal issue, like pure car just
that's really
acting.
Vague.
Yeah, it's something in the engine, and we did get a diagnosis like yesterday, and they're tearing apart the engine, and then they'll continue to give more updates. It's like, all right, just fix it. Just fix it. So it's a low, it's a bummer. I'd say that's the biggest, kind of thing happening. Highs, Lauren and I finally got membership to the Federal Way Community Center.
Yeah.
Woo, so you get all the amenities.
What are the amenities that have drawn you to it?
Well, okay, so there's 2 pool areas. And apparently one of the pools, or maybe both, I'm not sure, they're going to be like remodeling it from September to December. And we're like, well, what a great time to join. So that sucks, but oh well. The main sell for us is just like weightlifting or area to work out facilities and equipment and whatnot. Which is just really nice. I mean, you get a gym or multiple gyms with the tracks, tennis courts, community stuff too. When we were there last night, they were playing ping pong.
They have racquetball?
I think they do. I'd be surprised if they didn't.
I'm not good, but I enjoy it.
I love it.
If you ever get a guest pass, smuggle me in. I could be Lauren for the... No, I shouldn't do that. That's a dishonest thing, so pretend I didn't say that.
It'll be an off-air conversation.
All right. We'll double back to that.
No. But, you get all these amenities. It's too big of a word for me to use. You get all these features from it. That's a high. And then last night, Lauren and I really worked out for the first time in a good while.
Okay.
I'm sore. Yeah. And it's awesome. I love being sore because it means that, I don't know, it's like rewarding. It's like you did a good thing. Like your body is like recovering, but also it's like, I don't know, it's recovering. So in my head, I'm like, it's a good feeling.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So
what's a tabletop game that you don't play?
Tabletop game I don't play. I'm going to have to say, because it's the first thing that's popping in my mind, there might be others, but Monopoly. Every time I've played Monopoly, I've played with a person. Maybe it could be person
All right,
who just
all right.
takes full advantage of everybody or like the game and bends the rules and cheats and smuggles money from everyone. Like, and it's just, I've never had a good experience playing Monopoly because there's always that one person who's like, you suck, and then they're just like scooping the money off the table into their lap, and then they're just making fun of everyone. It's like, this is, and then it takes 5 hours on top of that. So as if like being beaten mercilessly in this game wasn't enough, it takes so long. I don't even know if I finished a full game of Monopoly before.
I found that most people who don't enjoy Monopoly, many people who don't enjoy Monopoly don't actually play by the rules. That if you read the rules and follow them well, the game actually, I enjoy it much more.
With the rules?
Yeah.
Okay.
My frustration with Monopoly, I think it's not fun when people take advantage of somebody else. But my frustration is I've played with my wife and her family who are very loving and kind people. And so they'll be making trades that aren't in their own best interest. And my whole strategy is like, I know what you need, so I can work with them to get what you need. And they're just too nice. Like, oh, sure, you can have this one. Like, oh, that throws off my whole thing because I was working to get the thing because I needed to leverage that over here. And if you're just gonna be kind, then the game doesn't make sense anymore.
So have you ever played Catan?
No, but
okay. If you love Monopoly, you would absolutely love Catan.
Okay.
I love. They're similar, but they're very different.
Okay.
I don't know if it's very trade and barter, and you got to work the system to win. But that's another game, Settlers of Catan. That's also like, I guess I don't hate it, but I'm not as eager to play it as I once was because I played it so much. Like in college and then during like COVID and everything, when everyone was just Zooming, like me and my friends had an online version of it, and we played it so much. Like it's not the same.
So Monopoly is not your jam. By the way, I'm not somebody who typically needs to like force things on people. I respect that. I don't need to convince you to like Monopoly.
I mean,
I happen to like it just fine. They've got new tokens, by the way.
What do you mean?
So when I was a young man,
like the mascot?
The little totems or whatever you move around the board. Used to be like the top hat and the shoe and the dog.
Yeah.
Now there's like a dinosaur, and I forgot what some of the other new ones are, but they've changed. They've added.
How dare they?
Yeah, the thimble.
Tradition.
So another game like Monopoly is called Monopoly Deal. It's like a card game version. It's the same
board?
premise of Monopoly. No, it's just a card game. It goes a lot quicker, but it can be equally frustrating. So Monopoly. All right.
Those are that's my game.
That surprised me.
I'm sure I'll remember other board games I absolutely despise as we go. There are others. They're not coming to my mind.
Yeah, let's see how many listeners Shane can alienate in 1 hour.
Because they're well,
that's all right.
No. All right, that's me. How about you? What are some highs, lows, and a board game you despise with all your heart?
I wouldn't say it like that. I might think it, but I wouldn't say it. Lows. It's hot today. It's kind of gross outside.
That's your low?
What? I don't know. I don't have air conditioning, and so it's when we can manage it well, that's great. But if I'm going to bed and it's stuffy, it's hard to sleep. And my other my more thoughtful real low is parenting is hard, and trying to find the balance or the appropriate application of, is this a time to be strict or to have consequences or to have discipline so that I'm raising up these kids well? Or is this a time just to say, you know what, they're 8 or 10 or 12, just let them be a kid. And I don't always know the answer, and it seems like more often than not recently I've been picking the wrong answer, and which is in some ways. So we're both Lutheran Christians, and law and gospel is a big part of how we read and interpret the Bible. And the first president of our church body, C.F.W. Walther, wrote this book on the proper distinction between law and gospel, and he says in there something to the effect of that rightly distinguishing between law and gospel is like the highest art for any Christian, and pastors in particular, and it's only taught by the Holy Spirit and the school of experience. You can correct me where I misquoted that, but the idea that whether is this a time to convict someone and have consequences, or graciously to forgive them. Like that's the whole Bible is about that, and it's really, really hard. And even if somebody does this full time, it's not ever easy. So I've been experiencing that struggle at home of
on the per parent level.
Yeah, just very practically over and over again is this a time to say, just laugh it off? They're kids, or you know what, that's not okay. And if I don't say something now, it's going to become a habit, and then they're going to be terrible people their whole lives because I was too lax. But also, I don't want to be this strict disciplinarian doesn't have fun either.
Yeah. Well, as someone who has no kids, let me tell you how to do it.
Yeah, please. Yeah,
no, I'm kidding.
Comment below. Gosh, so that's hard. And it's always hard, but I feel like I'm losing right now. Some days I feel like, oh, I got this. You know, it's work. But other days it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. So that's where I'm at right now.
So like most parents.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose so.
I suppose so.
It's hard.
I want to find the parent who's like, yeah, this is easy.
That's true.
Like,
yeah, I guess it's never easy, but some seasons seem harder than others. Mm-hmm. Some highs. Yeah. I got a few of those. I picked berries this morning.
Like what kind?
Blackberries.
Wow, I'm surprised.
So Charlotte was picking blueberries last night. I had a phone call earlier, and I was out walking, and I had my earbuds in so I could have hands-free walking and talking. Yeah. And I was just like picking blackberries while I was on the phone, and it was awesome. So just a simple little delight.
In your property, or
no,
like
here at church in the back lot.
Oh, okay.
We've got infinite blackberries back there.
Lauren and I keep saying we got to pick them. This is a good reminder.
They're just forever blackberries. So I picked a bunch. So that's one. Another high is I feel like I'm recovering well from my Mount Hood adventure.
Yeah.
So it was fun to record those podcasts, by the way. I missed you, but it was cool to do the adventure with Dave and to sit down here with him. And then other highs, my anticipatory highs, the kids go back to school next week. So just structure, routine.
Oh, going back to,
It'll have its own challenges too, because they're going to be tired and exhausted for a while, and
getting into that groove. But it'll be nice once you're in the swing of things.
Yeah, so that's looking forward to that consistency.
Yeah,
a tabletop game I don't play.
What
there are a few.
Hate with all your soul.
Well, I was just going to say nice and say I don't play. One is the game of life. I don't know why.
You're saying the board game, or just like
the board game with the like the pink and the blue people. I'm done with life, Shane. It's just I don't play anymore.
I'm just done.
No, the little car with the pink and the blue people and the kids, and you spin the wheel. I don't know if I've ever played a full game. I think it took too long to set up, and so
it doesn't take that long.
I don't know. Over the last 12 years, whenever the kids say, "Can we play life?" I just say, that's one that I don't play. You have to talk to mommy if she wants to play.
Just that adamant.
I don't play it.
What about it? You don't.
I don't know. Maybe the pieces are too small. Take too much setup, and maybe it's too much drama. I've got enough bills to pay in my real life. I don't need this. I don't know. It's too lifelike. So I don't play life. Apples to apples.
Really? You don't like it?
I had a bad experience because I think I've only played it once, and I didn't care for it because, a lot of games there's a balance between skill and chance.
Yeah.
And I thought apples to apples, I could bring skills to the game. Like I had an objectively good match, and I had a rationale. Yeah. And whoever we're playing was just like, I like your shoes today. We're gonna pick yours, and it was totally. It was too arbitrary that like you had this judge, the person who's whatever picking the thing.
Yeah.
There's no objective standard that they have to meet.
But
they're just like, you said please more than this other person. And I'm like, I made a better argument than this other person.
I think you were playing it wrong.
Exactly.
You're not supposed to know who put in what card. That's part of the.
Well, I thought you had like make a case for yours or.
Maybe in a different.
Yeah. Well,
rules.
maybe it was just whatever mine was. Somebody else was just like it made him laugh because it was so dumb.
Yeah. And each time I've played, it's very skilled because you got to think about like, what does Dan find funny?
Yeah.
And then you're like, something about Albert Pujols. Here you go.
So maybe just this speaks to I don't like playing with certain people, and they ruined it for me.
Maybe so, you just don't like people.
Yeah. I could probably name a few more, but those are the first two. I don't play life. That's just more of a principle. I don't know why. And then apples to apples, I don't trust people. and things that are arbitrary. I want an objective winner. It's like in the Olympics. I like Olympic things where the fastest person won, or the person who got the most points, objectively won. If it's being judged, and like, I liked how you spun better than that person. Yeah, and I don't like it.
I've always wondered. Yeah, I think it is like I like those judges. I feel like there's some fine like critiquing that they actually go into it, where they like look at your like you slightly wobbled here and deduct a point. I don't know.
I'm sure they have criteria that they're trying to use, but at the end of the day, it just feels like I liked you more, or you had more sequins on your thing.
Yeah, like as a viewer, I don't know what's good. I like the guy who runs fast, so that's more fun to watch. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
So we're starting a new series today about the games we play, and tabletop games is the category.
Like board games, cards. You need a table.
Dice, oftentimes.
Yeah.
So what kind of games are we not including in this series?
It's not including most like electronic virtual games. So like you might be familiar with Jackbox games. I wouldn't rope them in with tabletop games because it's more phone and you're around a TV for that. I don't know if you've played Jackbox games.
I don't know what that is.
They're a lot of fun.
Sounds like it.
Maybe we would rope them in. Okay, I take it back. But like video games, like Pokemon
So we're not
Go,
playing video.
I don't know.
We're not talking about video games.
Like not mobile games.
Not mobile games. Not
so like
apps.
Candy Crush.
Okay.
It's like games you'd play physically with somebody at a table. Yeah, and not like physical, like yard games, like cornhole or or like sports, and for that matter, like basketball, volleyball.
Yep. So not sports, not yard games, cornhole, washers, horseshoes, not video games. Now there might be some sort of weird ones. We're talking about there's tabletop games where things like like a deck of cards or different kinds of decks of cards, dice, a token that moves around a board, or tiles you're laying down.
Yeah, I mean, but like objectively, you need a table to play these games.
Now, what about charades?
I think I would throw that in.
That was kind of the one exception I was thinking of. It's kind of I guess another factor with at least most tabletop games is that you're with other people. I mean, solitaire you can play by yourself, but in general, I think we're talking about games that have a social element.
Yeah,
and people who are there, as opposed to like cahoots. You could be like doing a trivia game with people across the country or at like a bar. But we're not necessarily talking about that sort of thing. It's more we're interacting with each other in a game, in a setting that there's an objective, there are rules, but it's different than a physical competition. Like I'm going to race you or beat you at a sport.
Yeah, and you'd play it. Odds are you'd play it in a room with a table. I don't know. It's physical. It's hands-on.
Yeah,
but I think I would throw Kahoot in there.
Especially if you're playing it together.
Yeah, if you're playing in a group, in a room.
Yeah. I was trying to say, you can also play that my brother in Phoenix, my brother in Virginia, I can give them the code and we could all play on our own handheld device and not like be with each other. Yeah. That feels different than what we're describing as tabletop games.
Yeah.
But not PlayStation, not Wii, not Candy Crush or Pokemon Go.
Download Pokemon Go, by the way. Play.
So in future episodes, here's kind of the plan. In future episodes, we want to have guests on who are sharing some of their experience with how they play games, who they are when they play games, who they play games with, what is it they're kind of getting out of it, why they do or don't like certain games. And we're hoping to learn some new games and to play some new games. But today we wanted to just, I did 30 seconds of internet sleuthing and I found a list of 8 benefits from playing, I think it says board games, but tabletop games. Yeah. So I just want to pick your brain, Shane, and let our listeners participate as well. Have you seen these 8 benefits, sort of the games we play? Why do we play games? Because a lot of a lot of people play games. I grew up playing tabletop games. I think that phrase tabletop, by the way, is so hard for me. I always just called them board games, but that's too narrow. But I grew up playing games. Even at college, we would. So Shane and I both went to Concordia Irvine about 30 years apart, and all the Southern California cool people would often go like clubbing and go to all these neat
surfing.
things. Yeah, they do all those awesome things. But me and all my Midwestern buddies, we would bring a game with us, or dominoes, and then we'd bring it to dinner on Friday night, and everybody else would leave, and we'd just stay at these big round tables because the cafeteria had its awesome round tables you could get 15 people at if you needed to. And Friday night, we'd play games in the cafeteria, and that's when I think about some of my best memories at college. It's playing a tabletop game Friday night in Southern California.
Same here. Yeah.
But we realized that wasn't everyone's experience. So a lot of people, they'd be going off to their event, and they're like, "Do you guys need something to do?" At this, and we're like, "No, this is awesome. I've been looking forward to this all day or all week." So part of the question is, why do we play games, and what do games not just show us about life, but maybe how do they contribute to quality life? And so here are eight benefits of playing board games. Shane hasn't seen this list, and I read it once briefly. And so we're just going to go through these and see if we've seen that they're true or not true for our experience, and if there are any games that we think of would meet that or not meet that. So number one, board game playing increases brain function.
I think that's the most boring way to put that, but
how would you put it?
It makes you think.
It makes you think.
I think if I come up to a kid and you're like, "Hey, do you want to play board games?" They're like, "I don't know. Do I?" It increases your brain function. They're like, "No, I don't want to play anymore."
Maybe just don't go up to kids and talk to them. Also, Shane.
Okay, well, is that
what's a tabletop game that makes you think? Or maybe are there even different ways that they make you think?
So I mean. It'd be pure strategy games. So I'm terrible at it, but I know you're amazing at chess. So
well, I'm not amazing, but I do enjoy playing chess.
You smoked me, but
oh, that's true. That's true.
But
I had to teach you how the pieces moved a couple of times.
Yeah, I played chess pure random. I'm like, oh, this goes in an L and this goes straight, and you're doing the quadratic formula on the board, and
no. my ELO rating is probably between 1,200 and 1,300. I haven't played for a while. Anyway, for those of you who are listening, Mike, you can laugh at me later.
Mine's negative. I don't know if it's supposed
so
to go.
Chess is just pure thoughtfulness. There's nothing chance or random or silly about it.
Yeah, I'd say at the highest degree, most, but chess, it's famous because it's strategy. You have to think way ahead. You gotta outplay your opponent. And in that sense, it makes you smarter, I think, because you're always thinking. Yeah, it makes you think. But on the flip side of that, I love trivia games. But I don't know if it increases it's just random facts. It's not.
But I think having to access those facts and having to dig through your mental filing cabinet to figure out how you've sorted information and be able to retrieve it, that itself kind of keeps those neural pathways open and keeps them moving.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah. So in that sense, increases brain function, makes you think.
So there's strategic thinking, there's recall thinking.
Yeah. Recall thinking.
There's probably I think about poker, where you're sort of playing the other person. So you're both playing there's also mathematic thinking. So in cards, whether it's spades or hearts or something like that, has somebody played the queen already, or how many face cards have been played, where you're actually kind of counting and doing math and trying to hold a lot of data from this round in your head that once it shuffles, you got to forget all that and you're doing it again. It takes a lot of concentration.
Yeah, I've never played like that, but kudos to you for
anybody who's played hearts or spades.
I've played some games where all right, I see he has the ace, 3 aces.
Not
odds are I'm not
counting cards, but
you made it sound like you were walking into casinos and you're okay, I'm winning everything.
But if you're playing some kind of trick taking game, you want to be aware of which values have been played. All right, so that's number one. Board game playing increases brain function. So some games that don't do that, apples to apples. That's why it's a garbage game. It doesn't make you smarter.
There's strategy in that, like a lot of brain function. Because I'm thinking, like, I'm recalling this time that Pastor Dan said he finds the Cardinals funny, or I don't know, and I have a Cardinals card. All right, you love the Cardinals, so I'm going to play this Cardinals card on this.
Okay.
Because the green card said winning. And
see, there you go. That's why I couldn't play the game. If it had winning and somebody put Cardinals, that's just objectively the right answer. And if somebody else picked bananas because, they feel like a winner when they eat bananas, like, no, that's stupid. The game is flawed. All right, we'll move on.
They're
from
not all
apples to
winners.
apples. All right, number two, another benefit of playing tabletop games, it brings laughter and decreases stress.
AKA, it's fun.
It's just fun.
Yeah.
It brings laughter.
Yeah.
What game makes you laugh? I've got something in mind for me.
Well, might have been what you were going to say. What were you going to say?
All right, I'll share mine first.
Okay.
So a game that Shane introduced me to, is I can't think of it. Wits and Wagers. And we'll talk about Wits and Wagers in greater detail at another show perhaps, but the idea is there are these trivia questions that no one really should know the answer to, and you just kind of guess. And then after everyone guesses what they think the answer is, then everyone bets on which of those answers is the closest to it. So something like, on average, how many gallons of ice cream does the average American eat a year? And is it one? Then everyone at the table writes down their answer, then everybody guesses. Well, in St. Louis, we had a family reunion last April, and Chris and Mike, if you're listening to this, you're never going to let me forget this, but the question was, how tall is the average giraffe? And I forgot what I guessed. It was horrible, though. I guessed something like 75 feet. It was absurd, and I was so confident. And the answer was like 14 feet, something very underwhelming, something like that's a poor excuse for a giraffe, and I couldn't believe it. And then for the rest of the day, everyone would just randomly start pointing and laughing, like 75 feet.
Like a small high-rise building.
I was thinking Brontosaurus, if that's still what the dinosaur's called. I don't know what the names are.
Yeah, one of those. But yeah.
So that was an example of just laughing to the point of tears over and over again at absurd things.
So, when the first time I played it at your house, your child Titus, he it was like, how far in miles is the Appalachian? It was
the Appalachian Trail.
The Appalachian Trail, and he put like 2 million, and it was like, all right, Titus says it's 2 million feet or miles, 2 million miles long.
Yeah. So apples to apples would probably be a good example where there can be a lot of laughter and silliness. Wits and Wagers. Chess, there's not a lot of laughter. And Monopoly, you're not
I was laughing when I was playing you. It's just
But like Monopoly, there's not like, that's like pretty mean.
It's maniacal laughter.
Yeah. If there's laughter during Monopoly, you need new friends.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I feel like there's a big flux in funny games, like throw a burrito.
Throw a burrito. That's a silly game.
There's strategy, but if you take it too seriously, I don't think you're gonna have fun.
Yeah. Are you in the mood for a silly game or a strategic game? Are you just looking to be together and fill the time, or are you looking to sharpen a mental skill and win something?
Yeah,
because those are all fine options. But if you go in expecting one and you're kind of forced to play another one, you're having a bad day. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any other games that you can think of that when you think of laughter and decreases stress?
I'd say
charades is kind of a classic. It's just fun.
Charades, anything
Pictionary.
Pictionary, anything that where people put their own answers
Remember Cranium? Did you ever play that?
Yeah.
That came out when I was in college, I think, or high school. But
that fell off. Like, I don't hear anyone talking about it anymore.
About Cranium, but it was kind of the best of all these kinds of games. It was charades and Pictionary and spelling aloud backwards and trivia.
Quelf. Did you ever play Quelf?
Never heard of Quelf.
Oh, it is it's kind of like Cranium, where there's different like categories, but it's so like random. Like the cards, the game, like it's just so like everything is so like dumb and random. Like, oh, you landed on a blue spot. Pick up the blue card. For the rest of the game, your left hand has to be behind your back.
Oh my goodness.
But if somebody if everyone else puts their hand behind their back, everyone moves a space. It's just like randomness.
Okay. I'm not sure I'd enjoy that. I don't know.
Oh, you would.
We played Balderdash this summer a little bit, which with my kids are 8, 10, and 12, so it was pretty rough. But I think that ticks both these boxes. It can increase brain function, or it could just be silly.
Well, like you got to play the room. Like I bet everybody. So Balderdash is.
Oh yeah, good idea.
Balderdash is a game about lying, putting a fake answer in. And
I was going to say it's a game about vocabulary and knowing word definitions.
Well, it's like but you're trying to trick people, right?
If you don't know the definition.
Describe to me what Balderdash is.
You're right. There'll be a word that it's not likely anyone knows the definition of, and then you write a deceptive definition so that when everyone votes what they think the real definition is, you want them to guess yours.
Yeah.
But it's also possible that you know the definition, and then if you write down the correct definition, you get like more points, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
But you got. It's not first about lying. This is good. I take it first as, can I figure out what this word is from like the Greek or the Latin? And so I think about it that way first. You said, I'm not going to know what it is. How can I get people to like? Yeah. How can I deceive people first?
Yeah.
But it's both of those to meet together.
It is, and it can also be fun because like a super funny answer could come like, who put this, or is this actually the answer? I don't know. Yeah, so they're fun. They're absolutely fun. That it brings laughter and decreases stress.
Yeah,
I feel like that's a big one.
All right, number 3. We got to keep moving here. We have eight to get through, and some of these, again, I didn't create this list. I just Googled something like why play board games, and here are 8 reasons. Number 3, board game playing creates more happiness.
I feel like that's similar,
which seems similar to laughter, but I think. Laughter is one expression of happiness, and other people you can be super happy and quiet about it and not laughing.
That's true. And you can be happy and not necessarily decrease stress.
Yeah. So the explanation here, it says playing board games triggers the release of endorphins, the body's natural feel-good chemicals. Perceived as a positive emotion, happy hormones has the power to improve conscious and unconscious mind functions. So it leaves you feeling cheerful, compassionate, and ultimately content. I don't know if there are any it's fun. Yeah. It's satisfying. I guess even going back to chess. Chess isn't a laughing sort of game, but it can be very satisfying.
Oh, there can be good games.
And I can leave feeling happy and content, not just that we played, but as a result of playing. All right, that was a good game. Like, get on with the day.
Yeah. I agree.
Although plenty of games don't do this. So for you earlier, Monopoly doesn't lead you to being happy and content.
No, just angry and bitter and salty.
I think Risk is a game like that. I enjoy Risk, the game of world domination.
Risk,
and it can be really fun and really engaging, and you can laugh a little bit. You can definitely be strategic and thinking. But usually it's like Monopoly. The game ends because the board just keeps tilting and tilting and tilting.
And you have to play through the just destruction.
Yeah, and at some point, there's no conceivable way you come back from this. But if you're going to finish the game in integrity, you just have to endure it.
And that's not fun. So.
And then nobody's having fun there. So I guess that's another game where it's fun for the winner.
Yeah, for one person.
For one person after this giant battle.
Is it worth it? I don't know.
You may have had fun at different times during it. But a game like Throw Burrito, which is, if you haven't played that, it's a game where you're passing cards and you're collecting various things, and then it's... there are various triggers at which you have to grab one of 2 stuffed squishy plush burritos on the table and throw them at designated people. And so that's a game where even if you lose, you probably still had a good time.
Probably, yeah. You still had fun.
Yeah.
All right. Number 4. It brings people closer and strengthens relationships. Yeah, I feel like regardless, like it could be each man for himself kind of game, or it could be cooperative. Even so, both I think would still bring people closer together. Although at the same time, it can also destroy relationships.
It can be stressful. Like I'm not always my best self when playing certain games. I have to consciously check myself to say, how do I want to engage in this activity with these people right now?
Yeah. Am I playing to win or playing for fun? Because I have 2 categories for that sometimes.
Yeah. And you have to kind of choose and maybe even catch yourself sliding one to the other. And you might play differently depending on what you want to get out of it.
Mm-hmm. But especially at cooperative games where you're 2 teams, I feel like that's very builds the trust factor from everyone.
Yeah, so what's a cooperative game?
Well, I mean, charades came to mind because we.
Actual teams.
Yeah, you gotta be on the same wavelength. Like, yeah, I get it. Okay. There's some other ones.
I was thinking of Pandemic, the first one.
Oh, very much so.
Where everyone's on the very same team.
Everyone's trying to win for that.
So it's interesting that you went to cooperative games, which I guess makes sense that it brings people closer and strengthens relationships. But I think that happens in a lot of tabletop games that aren't cooperative.
Yeah.
So going back to Wits and Wagers, playing that with my kids and brothers in St. Louis, we played for hours and hours and hours. And we very much wanted to win, and we were very much making fun of each other's answers. And you know, it was not cutthroat, but like we weren't just playing to be nice. We weren't cheering for each other. Yeah. Like, oh, I hope you get some. No, I want to crush you.
Yeah, I want to win.
Yeah, I hope it's completely lopsided and I dominate. But laughing together, even competing together, and maybe some of it just comes down to we had time together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I don't know. I think board games, tabletop games, can create a context for relationship and community.
Yeah. I mean, provided it's not too like serious. And so I've played some games where I'm playing someone and we don't talk the entire game because we're so invested in it, but it's like after we're done.
Sure.
Like, oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So I think I've played games of chess like that, or Go is another game where you can go a long time without talking. Mm-hmm. And so there might not be the same relationship connection there.
Yeah.
But I could see a situation, even chess, if we had almost like a standing chess match where come on over a Saturday mornings at 7:00 we're going to play, best of 3 tournament or whatever, or just one game match. Just that structure of getting to see a friend play in the game. I think providing a reason to be together.
Yeah. And I think too, it's the same thing, like brings people closer and strengthens. It's what you said just reminded me, even like creating communities of people who are super into like one game specifically. There's plenty of board games where there's expansion packs and there's just people who just love this game so much.
Or Bridge or Pinochle, like it's just that's your jam. You always play this card game.
Play these card games, and they've got their group who love playing it, or just their group is this group of people who play all the board games. Even so, like most board games, most tabletop games require extra people, and so it's gonna bring people closer.
Yeah, and it's probably not probably. I'm thinking about my life. Board games are an easy invitation to be together. It's more natural for me to say, "Hey, do you want to come over and play whatever this game is? Charades, Wits and Wagers. We're gonna play Carcassonne, this tile laying world building game. You want to come play that? That's an easier ask than, hey, do you want to come over and just be together at my table, or like?
Do you want to talk about your deepest like deep-seated issues.
Yeah, why don't you and your spouse and kids come over and we'll just talk for a couple hours? Like, nah, I think we're busy.
No.
But when you do it, you invite somebody over, and they might be in your house. Hey, can I get you a drink? We got some snacks over here, and all of a sudden, maybe it's the husband start a conversation over here, and the kids are playing in the other room, and you have 40 minutes, and then you play the game and you laugh and you compete, whatever, and then before you leave, you have more conversation.
Yeah. So it's an excuse in some sense.
Provides a context.
Yeah.
That otherwise, like I say, hey, do you want to come over and just talk about life for a couple hours? That's weird. Yeah, maybe that would be a good thing to do, but
that's not how you. That's not. I don't know how it happens. And you're not going to say like, "Hey, let's meet up so we can talk about life." Yeah, I don't know.
But I can say, you want to get down for some throw burrito? Yeah, I do.
And then let's
do it.
Boom. Yeah, so I feel like we could talk about that relationship one.
So it brings people closer, strengthens relationships. Yeah. When it's not tearing relationships apart because your partner overbid, or you destroyed them at Monopoly, or they can't draw a panda bear to save their life, and now everyone laughs at you.
And now you have enemies. Yeah. So unless it's that. So number 5, it reminds what it's like to live in a real world. Kind of what? I was reading this for the first time. Sorry.
So it reminds us what it's like to live in the real world. So here's the description here. One of the most amazing benefits of board games playing is that such traditional plays pull people out of the digital world. Board games engage in activities that do not involve staring at a smartphone, tablet, or computer screen, and we need more of that nowadays. So, I'm with a human now, so I'm no longer left to my device, because there's infinite entertainment on my phone.
Infinite.
Yeah. I don't need you.
Yeah.
There's better entertainment in some ways.
Yeah, and I think people definitely need more social interaction, like person to person, physical bodies talking with one another, and board games is a great way to do that.
Yeah, so to live in a real world where we can laugh, we can think, we can compete. I think that's a really unique, I don't know if that's on here, but it allows us to, like, in the same way what sport often can provide is a way for this really competitive side of us to happen in a way that doesn't ruin a friendship. Mm-hmm. And when we don't have that, maybe I wonder if even that's part of our political climate, where we only know how to compete ideologically, and it's us versus them, and we're right and they're wrong, and it's this kind of non-regulated. There's no rules. We have to win and destroy others. But if we can do that in a fun, controlled setting, it satisfies that in us.
That reminds me, there's this really wacky, fun interviewer, or what's a person who interviews? Do they have a title? What is it? Interviewer?
Yep.
Is that? No, what is it? No,
you got it.
No, this is
news correspondent. What do you?
No, he's just the
interviewer, the host.
Yeah, he's just okay. This guy just
man on the street,
famous people.
Okay,
whatever. He's very quirky, interesting. His name is Nardwar. He's Canadian and he wears very goofy outfits. But he wanted to interview this politician in Canada in a very heated political climate, but he didn't want to interview the person about politics or anything. He just wanted to interview them and do wacky things with them. So he had this hip, it's like a hip hula hoop. So it's like this piece of plastic. Both people have to put their hips on, and then there's a hula hoop on it, and they have to do a full loop on it by swinging their hips or something.
I cannot picture the shared hula hoop adventure, but I like it.
It's so hard to describe, but regardless,
you're doing great.
Yeah, regardless, he ended up he finally this politician guy agreed to do it with him, and he did it, and he was like, "Thank you, that's all I wanted." And he was like, "What?" But it was just it brought people together. Yeah, he did it. This is awesome. It's fun, and everyone was cheering.
It's awesome. So going back to bringing people together, having fun.
Yeah, it doesn't there's nothing it's very fun. It's a great excuse to connect.
Yeah.
like what we were saying before. I don't know.
So Cal Newport is an author I really appreciate, and he's got a book called Digital Minimalism. I've probably mentioned it on the show more than once, but he talks about how our brains are such incredible machines and capable of so much that this mindless swiping or scrolling is making such little use of what we're capable of, and but at the same time it kind of hijacks our endorphin making processes so that it feels really satisfying to a part of our brain, but most of our brain, it's like this, this, you could say like a Corvette or a Dodge Viper just, parked in New York City traffic. Like it's not able to do what it's made to do.
Yeah.
And how he talks about how games, especially even just dialogue, but talking to somebody face to face lets our brains kind of flex a little bit of not only am I talking and listening, but I'm evaluating your body posture. Does he look confused? Does he look sad? Does he look angry? Like, is he tracking with me? And our brain is doing all these processes.
Can explain, like, really, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's able to thrive. And when you're playing a game, you're doing all of, poker, whatever it is, Monopoly, you're doing all of that with multiple people all at once, and strategizing in the game and reading the people and counting your resources. So your brain is able to like, yes, this is what I was made to do.
That reminds, like when I was playing Settlers of Catan, I played it a ton in college with people and then a lot online. And it's not as fun when you're playing online. Like, cause like if we were playing a game and the whole time I'm just like,
yeah.
And it's just like, it'd be so uncomfortable. You'd be like, what's happening? Why is he doing this? But if I had that same emotion posture playing online, you'd have no idea. And like, there's no chance of like connecting.
Yeah. So it lets us be fully human.
Yeah.
When I was in college, there was this, back in the early days of the internet, so to speak, that emulators were becoming a new thing where you could like reproduce games, whether like NES or Sega, or even board games on your computer.
Yeah.
And so I think it was for Sega. There was at some point there was a video game version of Monopoly. So you could play Monopoly on your Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
And I had the emulator version of that on my laptop. And one of the features of the emulator version is you could sort of fast forward the play when it wasn't your turn.
Oh, yeah.
So you could play a game of Monopoly in like 4 minutes. And so basically it was just always your turn. And if you hit the fast forward button, you didn't really notice what happened. But by the time it got to your turn, you could see what other people had.
Yeah.
And it was so boring.
Just kind of butchers.
Because it just fast forwarded the thing. And seeing this idea about living in the real world, there's something real world about rolling the dice and watching it move and letting other people think that can be really slow and boring and hurry up. It's, we're all waiting for you. Whose turn is it again? Like, but having played in the extreme where the whole game is on fast forward except for my turn was really unsatisfying.
Yeah.
I don't want to be too silly here, but it's like farming, agriculture, where you plant the seed and you watch it grow. Like seeing how things develop is part of life.
Yeah.
And that instant gratification or just the instantaneous happening isn't really true to reality. And so watching whatever the game is, let's think of like Carcassonne, which is this tile laying game where, people have to try to put it there. Okay, it doesn't fit there. We'll try it there. That can be really frustrating, especially if I'm playing with kids who are trying. I'm like, no, it's not going to fit. This is the only place it fits, but they don't see it yet. But you know what? That's life. Whereas you might see something before somebody else and you got to let them figure it out. And you might know the answer, but they got to get there. And that's probably a pretty good skill for some of us to practice.
Yes. Jeez. Coming out swinging deep in the first episode.
Episode of the games we play.
Okay.
Number 6, Shane. Playing board games lowers blood pressure. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Favorite one. That's the only reason I play board games.
And your doctor's prescribed it. Yeah, Shane, your blood pressure and your cholesterol are a little too high. So.
Here's some Candyland. There you go.
Oh, gosh. I have nothing to say about that.
I'm sure it's true. I'm too young to think I don't know.
I guess it's related to the endorphins and decreasing stress that relax and have fun will lower your blood pressure, I suppose.
Relax, I guess. Yeah.
Because maybe another way of saying that is maybe de-stressing. Because there's good stress and there's bad stress. So like exercise stresses your system, but it's ultimately good for you. Certain games are chess, we've said several times, can be very stressful. Like my brother plays in tournaments and it's exhausting from what I hear. Just like physically exhausting to play in a chess tournament.
That's how I feel. Yeah. Like if I'm playing board games a long time, if they're very strategic, it's so draining. Like I want to sleep. I'm done. I can't.
Yeah. What's the guessing game where you pass the thing around and it beeps at you?
Oh, catchphrase.
Yeah. Like that's a very stressful game.
But it's team. That's a team.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's similar. It's like charades, but just with mouth. I don't know. You're describing.
But I think by the end you have you laugh, you engage enough that you kind of accelerate your heart rate, and then you come down better than when you started. But in the moment, like it's intense because it's like people are shouting at you, and the thing is beeping at you, and you're trying to figure out how can I do this. That's one of my college games was catchphrase.
Maybe we'll play that here. It'd be easy to.
Yeah, we play a lot of catchphrase
on this table. Yeah,
so lowers blood pressure.
Yeah. Okay. Favorite one, blood pressure. Number 7, it teaches how to set goals and be patient. Yeah, I feel like similar to what we were saying before. It can be life applicable. It helps engage your brain in other ways that being alone, playing a game by yourself, or playing it online without the physical human interaction, seeing their emotions, characteristics, whatnot, it trains your brain. Especially to be patient, like we were saying, Monopoly. Yeah, like you have to wait your turn. I feel like that's the. I feel like that's become an idiom.
Wait your turn.
Yeah, like, or maybe it's people mean it literally too sometimes, but I just like wait your turn. Like,
I
don't know, wait for it to come back. I don't know.
Yeah, you got to wait for your turn. There's also just it sounds obvious, but to say it is a lot of games you have to plan ahead. And so in Monopoly, do I want to buy the utility company? It's never going to make me money, but I know that Micah's going to want the other one later. And so if I buy it now, I'm going to have a leverage with him for that. So thinking ahead and planning and realizing what I want to have happen or accomplish might need several steps to get there. That's a really good life skill.
Yeah.
You got to learn that somewhere. And practicing it is a good reminder of, I want it now. Yeah, that's not how life works.
Yeah. And it's hard to teach that to somebody with like very real life things. I don't know.
Yeah, and I guess it's not even just teaching. So there is something of you got to learn how life works and you got to teach it. But I think there's also something satisfying of that is how life works. And so when you're doing that skill, even on a small scale at a tabletop, in a sense, you're living because that's what life is. Life is competing and cooperating and trying to get somewhere. And so it's not just teaching you about life, but you're doing it in a small, contained sort of way, like you're really living. It's very satisfying to get to the thing you wanted to.
Yeah, it's rewarding. I guess your patience pays off depending if you're win or lose. I don't know.
So strategy, patience, setting goals. Can you think of any games that we haven't mentioned yet that help you set goals and be patient?
I mean, we haven't talked a lot about like card games and dice games, but I think like a lot of, at least for some dice games that Lauren and I play, like there's a set goal and like reach this score. And so I don't know, that's what came to my mind, like get 10,000 points in Farkle. And
I think being patient is like poker. You want to You might choose to slow play your hand to get people to bet more. And if you come out swinging too much, you're going to spook everybody away, and they're gonna bail on the hand.
Yeah.
Or Uno. We haven't talked about Uno yet. Uno is a classic game, but
Yeah.
I love my little guy Titus. He'll when he was younger, he loved his wild cards, so he'd play it just because he wanted to. He might have 3 blues and the card's blue, and he's like, I change it to green. I was like, buddy, like I can see you have blue. Like you should play one of those first.
There's like you have to try to win. Like,
yeah, so be patient. Like, yeah, that's a good card, but let's hold on to that a little bit longer.
Yeah, that's maybe nothing. It teaches you to win. I don't know if that's a bad or good thing. I don't know, but like competitive, it teaches that as well.
Yeah, I think Scrabble requires patience.
Scrabble.
You might not see it right away, which can be very exhausting for the rest of the room because you're like, whose turn is it? It's still Shane's.
Yeah.
But there's value in saying, I don't see it yet, but give me a minute. I think there's something here. And I think that's a good life skill of, I don't see it yet, but let me keep working this a little bit.
If I'm playing Scrabble, it has to be with people I know well and I'm comfortable with.
Cat,
my spelling
cats,
is just
dogs.
Yeah, like
okay,
yeah.
All right.
I feel so ashamed. I'm like, I don't know if this is how you spell the word.
Well, I'll call you out for it. I'll tell you if it's how you spell the word.
Okay, cool.
Because I'm one of those people. I don't have a Scrabble dictionary. Do you have an official Scrabble dictionary?
We use the internet. I don't know.
We use the internet. That's good too.
Yeah. Okay. Number 8, right? Is that where we're at? All right, last one.
8 of 8.
Board games enhance creativity and self-confidence. Ooh, yes. I love creativity and creative games. And
so which ones are, which games help enhance creativity?
Well, like Boulder Dash, a game where you have to like fib, but we have to lie. Like, it's like got to be very creative in what you put, what answers you put. There's a game called, I think it's called Game of Things, where it's basically there's a prompt like what could you use to eat ice cream? I don't know. And people put like a spoon or fork. You can put anything you want is the premise of it. But you don't know who put what. And so the game is guessing who put in what answer.
Okay.
And so sometimes you got to be creative and like, I want to throw everyone off and I'm going to put this. But if you try too hard, like Shane always puts these random things. He put a clown for this.
I don't think I like this game.
Okay.
But I like you, Shane. I like you just fine.
Thanks. But it's not the goal. It's not, you're not picking the answer. Like, this is my favorite. You're trying to guess who put it. Okay. So like I'm guessing that like Billy put this one, like you got it and you get that point. And then you keep going until there's none left.
I get it.
So, but you want to be creative in what you put, but not too creative. I don't know.
I think, and creativity can take different forms. So I was thinking of like a rummy kind of game with a deck of cards where you're getting like sets and runs.
Oh yeah.
You might get to a point where you realize, you know what, I'm not getting any 8s. I gotta, adjust your strategy and say, you know, I haven't seen 3s go by for a while. I'm going to actually start collecting 3s. So that adaptability, I think, is another way of being creative to say, the goal is to get here. This is the problem. What's another solution?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it teaches you to think outside the box.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to win by brute force. This, like, I'm going to do something different to try to win this game. I don't know.
So I can't remember the name of a game we have at home. Is it Outburst? It's a game where everyone has like a sheet of paper and there's like 10 or so categories, and then they roll a dice or a die, and then it comes like with a letter. So then you have your list of things, categories.
Oh, categories.
And it's like, all right, M, and it's got to like, an actor, a book, a food.
But if it's like a combined hyphenated word, you can get
double points.
Yeah.
But if anybody else uses the same one as you don't get the credit.
Yeah.
So you actually have to think of something that no one else thought of to get the point. And so to me, like, that's a game that really inspires creativity. Not only you have to think of an answer, but it can't be the obvious answer unless no one else knows that obvious answer. That's categories. Is that what it's called?
Categories. Okay. That game has caused so much division in my family. Like, we have
Because you can't have can't have adjectives like red apple. That's for R.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
But even like in like your answer. So this is the hot take. Maybe
okay, all right. This is Shane's getting
so it's
sweaty over here.
Things that are round. That's the
category?
That's the category. We rolled an M. So and one of like all
marble.
These different. So yeah, you could put anything like that. I put muffin.
Muffins are round.
All right, so half the world thinks not, and they will find you and beat you up because they do not think a muffin is round. So we're gonna bring more guests.
Horizontal or vertical?
I don't know. Yeah, we're gonna bring more guests on here, and we're gonna ask them the same thing: is a muffin round? And they're gonna be very passionate this way or that way.
Okay.
Sorry,
Shane, I would rather answer that question than the pineapple on pizza question. I'm getting bored with that. I've had more people ask me that in the last month, and I can't do it anymore.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
we were at a water park, and the person who was working there was trying to entertain us, and while he was in line, and he thought he was clever, and I was like,
would you eat a pizza with pineapple on it? Haha. Yeah. Ask him, is a muffin round? And then the whole line is going to be like punching each other and like, it's not. It is.
I didn't know this was a thing.
I didn't either until my family got split and we've never talked since.
I think it's round.
I think so too, by the way. But a lot of people don't. So sorry.
Enhances creativity. That can be an artistic expression like Pictionary, or it can be in a problem-solving one like in a card game, or it can be in a verbal one like Balderdash or Categories. Mm-hmm. And self-confidence, I don't know if you win. I
feel like that could have been a whole different category, but yeah, it boosts self-confidence. Yeah, I feel like if you win, I've had games where I finished and felt so worthless.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd put self-confidence. Maybe it's about the game. Maybe the game itself elicits self-confidence, or maybe it's just the fact that like, I can function with other people. Like I can talk to people. I can leave my home and be around others.
Yeah, and it says
fun.
It lead to greater self-esteem and fulfilling feeling of being included and noticed. So yeah, but I've also played games where I felt completely not noticed.
Yeah, I'm dumb and don't know how to do this.
And everyone's like, "Yes, you are." It's like,
"Yes, you are."
It's like, "Well, this sucks."
Yeah, that's not very satisfying. Okay, so here's where we go from here, Shane, and dear listener and viewer, who the three of you still with us. In our show notes, however you're getting this podcast, whether you're watching the video on YouTube or audio through wherever you get podcasts, in the show notes, we're going to have a link to a survey. And the survey is it's called The Games We Play. And it's, 10 or so questions that we made up. And it's just trying to get a feel for what tabletop games are like in your life. How often do you play? What are you looking for? Are you into the silly, mindless, or the thoughtful, intense? What specific games do you play? Who do you play with? How many people do you play with? One question is, what are you like when you play a game? Here's what the possible answers are. Serious, I play to win. Silly, I just want to have a good time. Steady, I'm engaged but not passionate. Disinterested, I play but I don't really care. And then one says, I guess somebody wrote in, it depends, but usually serious. That was an other. So are you serious? Are you silly? I guess kind of like steady, like I'm there, or like you're the reluctant player. Like I don't really want to do this, but this is what we're doing tonight. Yeah. And there's a spot to share what games you play. Mm-hmm. Shane, if somebody has a great game,
yes,
how can they get that to us? What would that look like?
Well, you could stop by on a weekday and say, "Hey, this is a fun game. You should get it." You can donate it if you want. If you want to say, "You guys really need to play this game," here, and just throw it at us. Cool. It's no guarantee we will play it, depending on the game, but just saying those are ways.
So we want to play. We want to learn new games. So Shane and I both love games.
Yeah, we love competing.
We play together. We play the silly ones. We play the serious ones. And part of this series, we want to invite guests on the show who can share their experience with games, tell us a game they like, why they play it, what they're like when they play it, if that game ticks any of these boxes or doesn't. And we want to learn new games and be exposed to new games. And part of what that looks like is what we're planning is after each of the episodes in this series, we'll adjust the camera angle, get a little video capture, and we're going to play a game we haven't played before. And so if there's a game that you would like either me and Shane to play with or against each other, or a guest of ours to play with us, we'd love to play through a new game and figure out what that looks like. So you can send us an email or leave a comment, or as Shane said, go on Amazon, just ship it right to St. Luke's, care of one of our names or the podcast, and as long as it's appropriate, we're gonna play some games and figure out what that looks like, and just kind of play live recording. Here we are playing this new game.
And so what'll happen on the YouTube side of it, so we'll post like an extra part to this episode, these next episodes, just showing us playing this game. So it'll be like an extra bonus feature. I don't know. You can turn it off anytime right now, I suppose. But you don't have to watch us play if you don't want to. But if you'd like to, we're gonna try to experience some new games. Yeah. And Shane today said, "Hey, do we have a deck of cards around here?" And I said, "Why?" He said, "We should play a game today." And so I trying to think of what game could we possibly play with a deck of cards that may be interesting. And Shane came up with War. Which on the spectrum of random to strategic is 100% random chance, luck,
dumb, and no thought or no skill. Robots can play it, and so Shane, do you want to do that with that introduction I just gave us?
Well, yeah, but.
Do we need to sign off first?
Yeah, we'll sign off.
Give people an out?
Yeah, we'll give you, there is an end to this.
And we're not going to play a whole game of War, are we?
We'll see.
We'll play a part of a game.
We'll see. That we'll figure that out in the bonus part of this.
All right.
But for those of you at home, listening, in the car, online, with family, with friends, alone, hopefully talking with people after this and playing games. Yes. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support, just listening to the show. I don't know, like we said, we've got a YouTube podcast. Feel free to leave a rating, subscribe, smash that like button, leave a comment below that just says pickles. I don't know, just do anything. So
engage and invite somebody over for a game, whether it's some of your immediate family, a game's dusted off, a next door neighbor, a long lost friend. If you live in the Western Washington area, reach out to us. Shane and Lauren, me and the family, we'd love to join you. We are always looking to play new games, so that'd be a hoot. We'd love to do it.
Be a hoot and a holler. So
until next time, adios.
Peace.
That's the end of the episode, but we want to continue the conversation. Continue the conversation by sharing this episode, subscribing, or leaving a review. Connect with us on Instagram at 2414 Podcast. Connect with us through email at 2414@stlukes-church.com. Or best of all, keep the conversation going by inviting someone to process with you so that you can each walk away with more understanding that leads to more conversation as the journey continues. If you happen to be in the Seattle-Tacoma area of Washington, stop by on a Sunday morning and say hi. 2414 is a podcast produced by St. Luke's Lutheran Church in Federal Way, Washington. To find more content, discover upcoming opportunities to connect in person, or to support the show, head on over to stlukes-church.com. Thanks for walking with us.